Is building websites for a living a sustainable form of income? Hey, what is up guys? It is Harrison Barron, the Millennial Entrepreneur. I am joined by my dog Hunter on this video, and I had a beautiful sun coming in, and all of a sudden I hit record and it went right out. So I had to get a fill light here, and hopefully this image looks pretty good. But in today's video, I want to talk to you guys about, is building websites a sustainable form of income? Now, some of you guys may be thinking, Harrison, why are you qualified? Well, I own a digital marketing agency, and we are a Wix legendary partner. So that is the top tier. You have to go through a series of interviews, you get an account manager, you have to build 50 websites on their platform, and ultimately you have to have no real customer complaints over the services and products that you're providing. So we build a lot of websites. Now, you might be asking yourself, well, how does that tie into any of this? Well, we do that for a living, essentially. But the problem is, and I want to share with you guys the story that I went through, because it's going to paint you guys a really good picture of whether or not this is sustainable for you. So when I first started my agency, we really focused on social media, building social media marketing, networking, really everything from LinkedIn to Instagram, Facebook, and just helping people build a lot more of exposure. Especially when I started, it was getting popular, but it wasn't at the peak of popularity, or at that point, it was a lot of the big influencers who were kind of driving that entire process. Now, after that, we had to start building websites because social media, you can really only sell so much. You need a good website for people to land on after they discover you on social media, which is great, but there was a couple caveats that we had. Number one, that we realized it's really unsustainable if you don't have a solid lead gen ability, right? So lead generation is when you are starting to actively get more and more leads for your website requests. Now, I'm not saying it's impossible to have that happen. You can build a reputation where you build the craziest websites ever. There's a couple problems that you might run into though. First of all, you got to figure out how much money do you actually want to make when you're building these websites, because based on how much money you actually want to make, let's say it's $50 an hour, right? Your goal is to make $50 an hour. If you know a really good website is going to take 20 hours or 10 hours, you have to make sure that you bill for that time. On top of that, while you're building that website, you really can't do anything else, which is one of the problems that we started to realize, and we're like, hey, we need to offer more services, right? So not only are we maybe charging the amount that we want to charge, but on the flip side of things too, is you have to constantly build either more content or ads to start getting more and more website work. Or you have to take the long way, which is referrals, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but you have to start building these incredible websites. Now, how much are you going to charge for those is really based on you and how much money you want to make. You could probably spend a lot of time on a website if you want to make $25 an hour, or even $10 an hour, right? Maybe you know a website is going to take you 40 to 80 hours to build the most beautiful website, which may actually get you referrals because it's just this jaw-dropping masterpiece. Here's the problem with that. Let's just say you spent 100 hours, right, at $10 an hour. That's $1,000. That's 2+ weeks of work. That is a lot of time that you really have to account for when you're going to build this website. Now, let's just say you want to charge $20 an hour. You're talking about $2,000, right? And so on and so forth. You need to understand that that's a conversation that you are going to have with a client that you need to be comfortable with closing, right? At my agency, we charge $100 an hour, right? But we could also bang out some pretty impressive websites in the matter of 10 to 15 hours, right? Yes, there are always the exceptions where we're going to go above and beyond, and those people are also willing to pay more money than most people. But the average going rate for a website really falls between, I would say, about $1,000 up to about $5,000 to $7,000. That's really the range of websites. That also takes in a lot into consideration. The platform you're building it on, right? The functionality of the website, the purpose of the website, what is going to be included in the website, what materials do you have, right? These are all, or assets in our world, right? What do you actually have that you could use on this website? That's another area to focus on, because if you don't have anything and you're building everything, you're gonna have to jack that price way up. You're going to need to get somebody there to photograph. You're gonna need to physically possibly even go there to do the work. You're gonna have to work on it at home. You're gonna have to probably hire a copywriter. There's all of these little aspects that start to add up that chunk away at your price. So the reason why we charge $100 an hour is because when we do work with somebody, we're hiring a designer who's a professional designer who's gonna go in, understands the company, the design, the message, and they're gonna go execute on that. Then we work with a copywriter, and then we build the website. That's for our higher tier websites. These websites are drop dead gorgeous. But I understand that not everybody wants to spend $5,000 for our websites, and that's totally fine. If they want to spend $1,000, we're going to build it in-house. We're going to do our best to write the copy. We're going to do our best to do a lot of the work ourselves, where we're not paying a premium to hire out other people. Now, you might be thinking or listening to this and be like, why would you even hire out a designer? Let's be realistic here. Not every builder can be a designer, and not every designer can be a builder. You have to have a good combination of the two, and if you are superior in one category versus the other, you're probably gonna have to hire somebody out to figure out that other aspect, right? So if you're an incredible developer, you're probably gonna need to get a designer involved who can design what it's supposed to look like, and then you can actually go and build it. It's kind of like an architect and a contractor, right? Or a construction worker. You're gonna need both. Most people can't do both, and this is where you need to get involved, and this is something you need to think about when you're building websites for other people. Now, I talked a lot about lead generation in the beginning of this video. What is lead generation? Lead generation is the act of getting new leads. How are you going to do that? This is a major problem that most website design companies have, and why they charge a massive premium on websites. The reason why they do that is because they need to make sure that every new client they get, there is a buffer of 10 or 20% in there that they could spend on ads to help drive new higher end clients. Now, there's probably much more profit involved in there. Let's just say a $10,000 website where they're probably spending $1,000 to $2,000 on ads to acquire another $8,000 or $10,000 website, right? If you take 10,000, you spend 2,000 out of it, you have 8,000 left. You need to take that 2,000 and reinvest it in getting another customer. So this is the process that most people don't actually realize when they're building websites. Now, at our agency, we realize that this is not really sustainable, even in a good market. And because we're a Wix partner, we do get a lot of leads. However, these leads tend to be a little bit on the lower side of quality, right? Not all of them, but they're either mom and pops, they're home, they want an additional source of income. I'm not hating on any of that, but for me as an agency, that costs me money. There's really razor thin profit margins in smaller websites. So when somebody wants an extra revision, I have to bill for that revision, right? And this is something you want to take into consideration. If you are, let's say hey, can you go find a picture for me? Sure, but that 15 or 20 minutes, especially if it's a really cheap website, needs to be accounted for. Whereas if it's a much larger website, not only are we going to go look for that one picture, we're going to look for a variety of pictures in that area, because we might find pictures that are great for other pages on that website as well. So do the work once and get a ton of yield out of it, but they're also probably paying for a lot more pages than just a home page or just 1 or 2 page website. These are all different areas that you, building a website, need to think about. Now, I said, is this sustainable? It really depends on your lifestyle and how much money you want to spend. I've heard of other partners in the Wix program. I've just heard of other friends that build websites. They range from, yes, it's sustainable, to, no, this is my part-time income. Now, what is sustainable? I mean, that's ultimately a question for you. Is it full-time income? Is it 30, 40, 50, 60, 100, 150, $200,000 a year? Well, how do you fill that void, right? And that kind of goes back to lead generation, how much money you charge per hour. If you're really, really good at what you do, you could probably charge a bit more than other people in the service that you're going to provide. But on the flip side of things, if you're good at what you do, which I would definitely classify my agency as very good at what we do, right? You might not charge a premium, but you also have all the tools available. There's this ebb and flow that you need to figure out, saying, hey, I'll be the first one to admit, we are not the best designers in the world, but our websites convert like crazy when it comes to building it, because we get a copywriter involved who works with the designer, and they just convert like crazy when we build them. Whereas other people, they might build beautiful websites. I see them all the time, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 websites. And let me tell you, I'm looking dead in your eye. These websites, you can't figure out what's going on in them. And it's crazy to think about, because they spend all this money on this website for a jaw-dropping, earth-shatteringly good website, and then at the end of the day, it does look nice. I'm not going to deny that. But the design takes over the functionality, and you have to be careful with who you're working for, what you're doing, and how you're selling these projects, right? If you're one of those people and you like these obscure designs, are really, really just dialed in, That's awesome. I love that. However, you have to take into consideration the other part of it where your job, depending on what the company's needs are, is to get them more sales or conversions. So you have to take this into consideration. Now, we realize that our agency, we could do both, right? We have a lot of good designers, we have a lot of good builders, and we have a lot of good people who are really talented. So we started offering SEO services, and we happen to do really, really good in that. So now we're offering kind of a more full package. We're going to start adding on ads as well as time goes on. But now we have websites, social media, so distribution, right? And now we have SEO where we're going to be creating content that ranks, constantly dominating the #1 spot on Google for a lot of our companies. And this is kind of the trifecta that we found so far because we realized that social media is really hard to prove an ROI, and websites, they're not entirely sustainable for us. Now, for other people, if you're on the lower end of the 30, 40, 50,000, yeah, you could probably do that. I have a friend of mine who makes about $6,000 a month. She does $2,000, $3,000 websites, and hey, $6,000 a month times 12, you're looking at just about $75,000, right? Somewhere right around there, $75,000 for the year, which is phenomenal. I also have other people that do, $2 or $3, $500 websites, and they're making $1,500 a month. That's putting them at the, $15,000 a year range for those websites. And that's not good or bad. That's just what they want. So is it sustainable? You have to make sure at the end of the day, in my opinion, you have to make sure that you have a good lead flow coming in regardless of where it is, right? You can vet them. You could always provide more value. You could always charge a little more money, but you really need a solid lead flow. If you're just going out and hoping for the best, saying I'm going to build websites and I'm starting my business today and planting the flag in the ground, hey, kudos to you. But you have to be aware that if you don't have new people asking for your services that are willing to take cash out of their pocket and pay you, you're going to be in a bit of a pickle. So I just want to lay this out. I think this is really valuable for a lot of people to listen to, understand, know what I went through. And now that we've kind of built out that and we kind of filled that gap, we are consistently, the websites are just additional money for our business. A lot of our business is SEO and social media, where we're helping manage people's social media, post on their social media, and ultimately getting content written for them and organizing it, putting it up there and helping it rank on Google. So that's kind of how we've ended up, because for us, websites weren't completely sustainable. But I do know plenty of people that websites are their full-time job and they absolutely kill it. So I hope this video helps. If you guys want, come hang out with me in my private Facebook group. There's no pitches or anything like that. I'm just looking to help a bunch of other people. Other than that, go enjoy your day. Hit that like, subscribe, notification bell. My dog is now tired after doing nothing all day, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.